All right. Okay, so we're starting with Johann Vermeer. He is an artist from the Netherlands, and specifically the city of Delft. And so Delft is a really interesting city. Um, it's kind of near Amsterdam. It is very similar to Venice in Italy. If you've ever heard of Venice, Venice is the one that has the water canals. The city of Delft is the same thing. So the entire city, instead of streets, they have waterways. So you get around in the city by a boat. It is a fortified city. So by fortified, I mean it's a medieval city that is surrounded by a wall. So to get in and out of the city was very difficult. And during the plague, actually the first plague, when the Black Death came around, the city of Delft was very, very smart. They shut the gate of the city and they didn't let anybody in or out of the city. So they were actually pretty protected from the plague the first time around. But our artist today, so Johann Vermeer, is from the city of Delft. And he's kind of interesting because he spent his entire life here. He was born in Delft and he died in Delft. Most artists will, especially from kind of the Netherlands area, they might be born there, but then they would travel to, say, Italy, to Florence, or to Paris, France, to study art. But Vermeer did not. He stayed put. But what ended up happening is several artists traveled to him. So the city of Delft became kind of the northern place for artists to gather and study and learn together. There was actually an academy just like our academy is a school, just for artists in this city. So Vermeer lived in, actually his house is in this picture. I think this was his house. It's Vermeer's house, but he lived right on the waterway, which is pretty cool. Pretty cool city. Here's a map to show you. This was the city from overhead. So here's an old map of Delft. You can see this is the wall. It goes all the way around. These are the waterways. These are not streets. These are the canals. So this is the waterway. It's surrounded by farmland. And so there was only one way in. Here's the main entrance. One way in, one way out. Everything else was kind of medieval, fortified city. Okay. So Vermeer is known for the Dutch Golden Age. So Dutch Golden Age is a time period when Amsterdam and Dutch artists started to become famous. So here is one of Vermeer's earliest paintings. So this is a lady writing a letter circa 1665. Now, this woman is not just a lady. This is actually Johann Vermeer's wife. Her name is Catharina, and she is from the city of Gouda. Gouda, like the cheese. Yes, the city where the cheese is from. So Catharina was actually from a wealthy family in the city of Gouda, but her father passed away, so it was just her and her mom. So for her to move to Amsterdam was more of a kind of a business decision to get married to Vermeer. Now, in this painting, there's some interesting details. So Vermeer became well known for these types of paintings where there would be a single person sitting inside near a window. So we can see the light coming in from the window, coming across. Vermeer wanted to give the appearance that they had wealth, and when in fact they did not. Vermeer was actually very poor, so poor in fact that he died. When he died at age 43, he was actually bankrupt. But Katharina, his wife, and him, they had 11 children. So part of the problem was just trying to feed the large family. And that's part of the reason they struggled. That, and he was an artist and wasn't making a lot of money yet. So a lady writing a letter, this became famous for a couple of different reasons. One is the way that Vermeer painted it, with the light coming from the window. Two, he has a painting. This is a double painting. So this is a painting within a painting. This background piece is called a vanitas. Vanitas was a still life that became popular during this time. And they think that Vermeer actually didn't own this painting. They think he just painted it into the painting to look like he had one, because this, again, would have been hard to come by and an expensive purchase for him unless he painted it himself. And then this fur coat that Katerina is wearing is, they think this is actually a fake. Like, this is not a real fur coat. They think that Vermeer fabricated this out of ermine, which is a type of animal, or even possibly cat fur. Ugh. And then they think they painted the spots on this fur coat. Now, he would have had access to this silk. His father was actually in the silk industry and owned a silk factory. It's called Kaffa silk. So Johann would have had access to the silk, but the fur, not so much. They really were not of that status to be able to purchase a real fur at that time period. Again, the silk is seen on the tabletop. And then some of these details of like the chairs, these would have been nicer chairs than he probably actually would have owned. So some of this would be real. Katerina probably did pose for this, but some of the details we think Vermeer made up and added. He embellished his painting. All right, now this painting you've probably seen before. This is one of his most famous ones. This is the Milkmaid, circa 1657 to 58. So again, we see a woman by a window. Johann Vermeer became very known for this. So a single figure by an open window. So we had the light coming in through the window. I spy back here this lantern with the metal. This is similar to what you are trying to learn how to do. And then he became well known for all the details. So the bread on the table, this foot warmer in the background, this tile in the background is actually called Delftware. The city Delft was known for making these tiles, the little blue tiles. I'll explain what happened to this tile factory tomorrow. It was actually kind of a crazy explosion drama story that happened to this factory, but we'll go into that tomorrow. And then again, we see the kaffa or the silk. So Johann Vermeer, this milkmaid would not have had something this nice. She would not have been wearing this nice of clothing. Vermeer, we think, either added this silk to her outfit, like the blue especially, or again, he could have painted her and then embellished the painting with the addition of the kaffa silk. Because a milkmaid would not have had the money for fine silk. But again, Vermeer had the contact with his dad, so he had access to the fabric, so he very well could have wrapped it around the milkmaid. Now, the color of this kaffa, this bright blue, this paint is called ultramarine. It is made from lapis lazuli, which is a really rare mineral from Afghanistan. And so remember, Vermeer is poor. He would have spent every dime he had to get this ultramarine blue, like every dime. We actually know he purchased it himself because we have the receipt. He went to the store locally where he lives, and they have the receipt of him buying this ultramarine paint. Another important thing to understand is this painting is not big. It is very small. So he could afford to paint using this expensive paint because the size of his canvas was tiny. It's not much bigger than your sketchbooks.